they asked me to come and present about what the blockchain is, and the best way I thought to explain would be to try and do some kind of live demo, but I've never done this before. We're going to try and create our own blocks and mine our own blocks, and we've got some rewards here for when it happens. It would be helpful to understand the background. I'm assuming there's not a single person who hasn't heard of Bitcoin before today and the blockchain, but can I just have a show of hands for a few questions? Who owns some form of cryptocurrency? Right, so a few of you. So, who of you fully technically understands how the blockchain works? Right. So for you four, this isn't for you, because what I've done is I've essentially butchered it to simplify the explanation. I myself, just given my background, my background is I've been trading since 2012. I went through the huge market crash when empty docs went bust. Took a little bit of time off, but about 14 months ago came back to it and decided to go into it as a full-time career. So I'm now a trader. I trade a personal fund. I also trade a fund for Science Inc. out in the US, who are a venture fund. So I spend a week every month out in Los Angeles with those guys. I run a blog called What Bitcoin Did, which I blog about crypto and how to trade, tips and tactics. My approach being very much the macro approach rather than pumping shit coins. I also have a podcast called What Bitcoin Did, where I interview traders and interview Jameson Locke, who's a techie. I'm a teacher, so I teach people. And I'm also recently became a miner. I have a stack of S9 rigs out in Washington State, and I've got some Haylong Dragon mints. I'm not particularly technical. When you start getting into the depths of the blockchain, it goes way over my head, and I struggled with it for a long time until I found a really interesting article that explained it for children to understand. So what I've done today is I'm turning that into a presentation and a live demo. Just roll with it, we'll see how this works. It might be amazing or a complete disaster. So, okay, so let's start with what a blockchain is. And the best way to explain what a blockchain is to look at a problem it solves. Blockchains solve lots of problems. They can be used for storing any form of record. Most people know it for Bitcoin, which is a financial record. So I'm going to use the financial as the example, but in the future, you can replace finance with anything. You can replace a monetary record with a record of an asset or a property, anything you choose. So we're going to do the monetary angle. We've got Jack and Jill. They're not related, but Jack wants £100 from Jill. And let's imagine Jack is away in Australia, Jill is in England, he says, can I have £100? So the way Jill would traditionally send him £100 would be to log into her bank account, put in Jack's bank details and send it. The process of sending this money doesn't physically take the money out of her bank account and put it into her bank account. What happens is a record is created on the bank ledger to deduct £100 from hers. And the bank ledger for Jack's account adds £100. And at the end of the day or the week, all the banks settle their differences. But there is no physical transfer of money from one bank account to the other. What the bank has to do is firstly check, does Jill have enough money? And then make the transfer. It's very simple. The problem that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency solves is we have to trust the banks with our money, which for some people is great, for some people is not so great. If you have to trust the bank, you have to trust that they're going to look after your money and keep your money, and you own that forever. But we know back during the financial crisis in Cyprus, the IMF turned around to anyone who had over 100,000 euros in their bank account, or something like 47.5%, to cover the loans from the IMF to take them out of debt. So as much as you think you own that money, you don't always own your money if governments want it. You don't own it if there are mistakes. During the financial crisis which hit our country, there was a big threat to the money within our banks, the number of our banks nearly went bust. The other issues is government inflating money by printing and quantitative easing when there's financial pressures on our own country. Now, for most of us, this is fine. We trust the banks, we think we're fine, but in a lot of countries, they don't. Venezuela, people don't trust the banks. Zimbabwe, people don't trust the banks. Bitcoin was actually trading at a 40% premium into Zimbabwe to protect their money. The other issue with transferring money internationally is the huge cost and the time. So if Jack wants the money on a Saturday and accesses his bank account, it won't arrive probably till Monday or Tuesday. So this is the problem that Bitcoin and blockchain was originally designed to solve. And the way it solved it is by saying, what if we don't need a bank? All the bank is doing on our behalf is managing a ledger of who has what and who sent what to who. Is there a way of solving this? Can we not have a ledger? And the way this was solved was using a blockchain, which was a distributed ledger. The thesis being, if enough people had a copy of the ledger, then they could all match and they could decentralize the process. So, remember this ledger? How do we maintain the ledger without a bank? Well, what we do is we give everybody a copy of the ledger, and everybody agrees upon what's in the ledger, and there are financial rewards for maintaining the ledger. Make sense so far? Cool. So, in the Bitcoin network, the ledger is maintained, I'm going to simplify, just say by miners and nodes. They are similar. The difference between them is nodes validate the network, whereas miners create the blocks in the network. So, all a blockchain is, think of it as each block has a page of records that every time they close, a new page comes on top. And as each page is created, the previous one is sealed and can't be tampered with. So you could lose, say everybody in this room, which we're going to try in a minute, God knows how this is going to work, and say everybody in this room is a miner. Say there's a tsunami, we take you out, the ledger is still maintained by the group here. Say we have a bad actor who tries to update and put in bad records in the ledger, because it doesn't match up with everybody else's ledger, it doesn't get validated by the network. You with me so far? I'm conscious of how much time I've got, so what we're going to do is we're now going to try and build a live blockchain within this room. Okay? Everyone ready? Okay, give me a second. Have you all got your bags? I want you all to take out your pad, a pen, and an envelope. Yeah, as long as you've got an envelope, that's fine. You're going to have to rip the pages out. Right. So, has everyone got an envelope? Yeah. Right, on your envelope, we're going to start with block 1. So can you write on it block 1, and give it an ID of 26. Right, and just imagine you all have 100 Bitcoin right now. Okay, so we're going to create, you need to take a piece of paper out each now, and we're going to create a block. This piece of paper is going to represent a block. Okay? So, we're going to create some transactions. What's your name? Alex. Alex, pick someone to send some money to them.
Anyone called Peter?
Hi, Peter. Yeah. Oh, I've not got a pack.
This man here.
What's your name? Richard, how many Bitcoin are you going to send Richard?
Let's make it simple, it's up to
2. That's about 30 grand. So, Richard, sorry, what's your name?
Alex.
Alex and... Right, follow this. 22nd of Jan 2018. The time is 10 past 2. So Alex gives Dean 2 Bitcoin. Cool, we'll do another one. What's your name? Will, who are you going to give some money to?
This gentleman right here.
What's your name? Ted. Ted. Will's going to give Ted 12? Wow. Only 100 grand. No, not a generous man. All on the same paper. All on the same paper. Date and time, Will and Ted. And if you haven't got it, your block's invalid. So, and this one, the time count is going to be to 11. Will gives Ted 10. you. Hello, what's your name?
Carsten.
Carsten. You don't have a pad. Who's next to you? What's your name? John. John, who are you going to give some Bitcoin to?
I'm going to give him glasses and...
Carsten is going to give, yes.
John.
You. Oh, sorry? Right, Carsten is going to give Abe how much?
John.
John, sorry.
John is going to give it.
John is going to give Abe.
John is going to give Abe 50 Bitcoin. You can get that for outside. Alright. And he's done that, and the timestamp is 2:12, and if you didn't get it, unlucky, your block is invalid. Right. So what happens with the block? Every time a transaction is created, this sent out, is broadcast on the network, and everybody who is a node or a miner in the network validates, but the miners build up a block. Okay, once it hits 1 megabyte of data, that block is full. It's going to be more than three transactions, but we're going to say it's full. Okay? So, you're all miners, and the way you are all incentivized is you're incentivized to validate the network by when you close the block to open the next one, the first one person to close it receives a Bitcoin reward. Okay? And this is something called proof of work. So the original designer of Bitcoin was a guy called Satoshi Nakamoto. Nobody knows who he is. Some of you would have heard about him. Or her, sorry, apologies. And he designed proof of work as a way to ensure that the network is validated because it's expensive to mine Bitcoin. So I'll give you an example. My miners that are out in Washington, they will mine about 0.1 of a Bitcoin a day, which is about $1,000. And that costs me $200 to $300 to actually run. So the proof of work is in what validates the network. So what we're going to do now is we're going to close this block and open up the next one. And the block rewards are in Bitcoin. I've got it in pounds. So whoever closes this block has got £25. Okay? And you're going to do it by solving a problem. Now the way Bitcoin does it, I'm simplifying it, is there's a random hash number. We don't need to get into that because it's complicated. I don't really understand it. But we're just going to do a math sum to represent it. So as soon as you solve this, put your hand up and you solve the block. Just get the phones out. Someone solve it. Put your hand up if you solved it. Oh, sorry. Okay, here. Sorry, this. Sorry. So we've got the ID and we're going to solve this. First one to solve it, put your hand up. Apologies. Yep. Hand up if you got it. Right, I see you first. 1404. Let's have a look. 1404. You've solved the block. The block is now closed. Take this. Yeah, I'm coming to you. There you go. Right. Thank you. So we've now closed block 1. Block 1 can never be reopened. It can never be reopened. It's closed, but to close it, we're going to seal it. So, can you put on your block 1, seal 1404? Yeah. Is a hash, yeah. It's a SHA-256, but I don't think we need to get that today. Can I have a look at your block? Right. There's some errors in it. Right, okay. So your block would be invalid. Then we've got a full valid one. Right, okay. Yes. So I'm going to check this. Okay. So has anyone not got as their first transaction, 22nd of Jan 2018, 211, Alex gives Richard 2 Bitcoin. Has anyone not got that?
210.
Right, 210. 210.
It is 210.
Oh, is it? Has anyone not got that? Right. So what happens in the case of that is if you choose not to, when it's a network, it's majority rules. If you choose not to update your block to reflect that, you're kicked off the network. This is what protects the integrity of the network, in that everybody has to follow the same, have exactly the same blocks. Okay? Does that make sense? Is this working? Yeah. Right, okay, cool. Let's do another block. Yes?
What happens is the first one who solved this hash search.
Yes.
He creates a block and then propagates, I'm creating a block, and then this block is propagated through all the network. So everyone So
What actually happens is
I throw my block, who is actually some errors in it, away and take over the block of
yes,
someone.
and that's correct. And they broadcast the closing. That 1404 seal is a very simplified version of it. It's this huge, complicated hash key. But that is then broadcast as the closing seal to the block. Okay? If you do not use that closing seal for the next block, all your future blocks are invalid. You'll be mining invalid blocks, and you will never. So if you mine a block and you've got an invalid seal, you won't get your block reward. So there's a financial incentive of something like over $100,000 per block sold to be correct and following the network. This is why, in the history of Bitcoin, there's never been a single successful hack on the network. You actually need 51% of the mining computing power over I think it's over a 90 block period or something. That number might be wrong, which means to hack the Bitcoin network currently, you need around $170 billion.
I have a question.
Should we do questions at the end? Should we do another block?
Yeah.
I'm giving one anyway.
Okay.
All right. So you all put the seal on this, right? Let's open up block 2. So block 2, right block 2, the ID is the seal from the previous block. Alright, we'll just do this really quick. We'll do one transaction. Just and then if there's any questions. So, okay, we're going to do one transaction. I'm Peter, I'm going to give you, what's your name, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to give Yen 3 Bitcoin at 2.16. Okay, and we're going to close that block. Okay, so
Peter gives who?
Yen, Jens, we'll allow misspelling. Okay, I'm going to give it 3 Bitcoin. We're going to close down this block. Okay, so the block is 2. The idea is 1404. First hand up, solving this. Right in the very back corner.
9,828.
There we go. Solve the block. Right. I hope this worked. Here you go. Sorry. Okay. Gosh, that took a lot longer than I expected. Is it worth allowing some questions rather than carry on doing those blocks? Does it make sense? Do you understand what's happening? The thing is, look through that. These blockchains can hold all kinds of information. I've done the Bitcoin example because it's the original example. It's money, it's a financial system. But blockchains can be used for anything. It can be used for deeds. It can be used to protect the integrity of any kind of information. It can't be hacked. It can't be taken down. It's distributed globally. Hence why there's so much speculation in the blockchain space at the moment. So I guess if you've got any questions, that might be a good place to allow.
What length of time would that take?
10 minutes. Each block is, a block is mined every 10 minutes, but they have something called a difficulty rating, whereby as more miners come online, as blocks start to get sold quicker, the difficulty changes to try and keep it at 10 minutes a block.
Okay.
But it depends on the blockchain, some are 2.5 minutes, some are seconds.
But there wouldn't be huge variation.
Not within Bitcoin. There can be other things that slow it down though. Bitcoin Cash, the fork by Roger Ver, took computer power away, hash power away from Bitcoin, and there were times when the blocks were running a lot slower.
Yeah, stupid question. I mean, isn't it finite the amount of Bitcoin you can get out of this? Is it got a limit?
Yes, 21 million, of which 16.7 exists now, 4 million estimated loss, but the curve for release reduces. So the block reward halves every 4 years. So we're now 12.5, it'll be 6.75, but the miners take a fee from each transactional process. So the system is designed that by the time the Bitcoin is run out, the transaction fees will be high enough to rule the miners.
Will that, sorry, will that not make it then, will it make it obsolete or less of a
No, because the financial the economic is designed that the miners then get paid for the transactions. So rather than mining rewards and just sold in the block, they also get paid. As I send 2 Bitcoin, they take a percentage of that. So the economic incentives change over time, but it's still an incentive to mine. Yes.
How, if you've got, say, you've got a really fast mine,
Yeah.
and you've got a slow mine, how can the slow mines make any money at all?
They just make less.
So,
It's calculated on something called hash power. So I've just bought these Dragon McCain ones that have got 16 terahashes a second or something crazy. You join a pool. So imagine I've got a miner. We could all join in a big pool and all mine together, and we can share the mining rewards. And you tend to get, even some of the old machines, like, so my S9s are mining around $22 a day of Bitcoin each. You've got old machines that might mine $4, but eventually they become obsolete. So it's like a
people with the fast machines even let people.
getting the machines is so hard. That's the problem. You know, if Bitmain put out a batch of S9s, they're sold within 20 minutes.
How do you pay your miners? So do they get a percentage of the 0.1 Bitcoin they mine every day, or how does that work?
Miners are the machines, right? So say I've got 50 up in Washington, they contribute hash power, and I get a payout every day. I get say there's 100 machines in the pool and I've got one. I'm going to get 100 of everything we mine. It's just shared out equally.
And it's only 30% cost to you, $300.
So it changes. You know, it changes. This is the game you're playing. You're playing a game of difficulty versus hash power versus price volatility. I mean, Bitcoin's dropped from 20k down to 10k. So it's kind of like it's an economic game.
Yeah.
But you average between $20 and $30 depending on what the market's doing. Sorry, did you ask one already?
No.
Oh, go on, sorry.
Apologies if I missed this before, but
No, but-
the integrity of the whole thing depends upon the seal being calculated by each of the nodes and calculated it the same way. That's how they verify.
So the way the hashing works is you can put a number in one way, like a code or a number, and it spits something out, which can be found by guessing, but it takes a long time. The reverse engineering, if this is what the cryptography is really difficult. So it's really hard to reverse engineer hashing. Therefore, it's a one-way protection.
One more question.
One more question. I think this guy is.
Sorry. I wanted to ask, with regarding pools, which seems to be the only way now to actually mine successfully,
Yeah.
it's a little counterintuitive because the pools are getting larger, so now you're having up to like 30 or even 35%
Yeah. You
of
get
the
near
hashing
51%
power.
risk power.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
isn't that going against the whole philosophy of Bitcoin, the blockchain?
It is, but what you tend to find is the market tends to react to this. So Halong, who've releasing the Dragon mints, they are philosophically attacking this by releasing their own miners to try and break down the pools. But they also, even if you had 51% power, it actually works out more than that because of the time period. And also, there's no incentive for you to destroy the network. Because if you're mining, even with 51%, you destroy your own economic benefit. I wish I was had longer.
That was honestly fantastic.
Yeah.
Thanks.